Okay, I'm on a roll here and I'm still, this is going to be part 4, and this is the last about my hospital stay. They took the catheter out from the plasmapheresis and they sent it off to the lab, and the tip of it had staph infection. Now, the only way that it could have staph infection was when they put it in, they weren't careful and the tip already had infection on it. So that was something to have to deal with, to know that, this could have been prevented. It wasn't, just luck. It could have been prevented. Um, so they took out the catheter, and I'm in the hospital now, not worrying about my eyesight, but worrying about my life. And I knew the next day on a Saturday, I was in and out of sleep, of consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And every time I'd wake up, there was a doctor sitting there at the end of my bed. And it was the doctor that was just, he wasn't assigned to me initially. He was just the one that was on call that weekend. But he sat there by my bed that whole day. And you're not well when the doctor sits there at your bed all day. And every time I'd wake up, he'd ask me how I was doing, and we would talk a little bit, and and he'd tell me that I was a very sick girl, and that I needed care. However, they were keeping me in my same room. They didn't move me to ICU or anything like that. And I was that sick. So there's a lot of questions and debates of my treatment, but eventually I got to leave the hospital, and the follow-up directions was just to follow up with my doctor. It didn't say immediately, didn't say anything, and we had not been explained to the seriousness of the infection, of the sepsis. We were glad, I'm finally getting to go home. And so, we waited a day or two to get into the doctor because I was so sick. And, I was just ready to be at home, not to be out and about. Went to my doctor. He did blood work, and I was still, according to the blood work, I was still septic. I did not need to be discharged from the hospital. He wanted to put me right back in, and I totally refused. I said, I'm not going, totally refused. I said, you can treat me. And so over the next 2 weeks, I was in his doctor office every day doing lab. They did pulled lab work on me, and it just wasn't getting better. I was doing oral antibiotics. Finally, he finally talked me into it, or he said that he at least needed to be able to do IV antibiotics on me. And so I went back to the hospital on an outpatient basis, and I went every day, I think for like 2 months, and did IV antibiotics to get the infection under control, because it still wasn't. And so like here, I'm out, 3 months past the optic neuritis. I only received 3 plasmapheresis treatments, but I did regain my eyesight back. But we were dealing with, a potential fatal infection. But we did get it under control, and it took the better part of the good year for my body to heal from that, and I've never been the same since. I'm aware of infections in my body now, and it's weird because I can feel the infection. I can feel it traveling. I'm just more aware of what's happening in my body, and the sense of it, the feeling of what's going on. And, you know, that's a good thing, and it's also an uncomfortable thing. You know, it's just no fun to know. Like when I do chemotherapy, I can feel, you know, it's a toxic chemical, and I feel it traveling through my veins, just like the sepsis. It was toxic, and I felt it traveling through my veins. So I deal with that same feeling every 2 weeks, of the feeling of how I felt when I knew I was going to die. So at least from what I can remember, you know, that gets us, you know, completely out of, you know, that the hospital stay and the optic neuritis is a thing of the past. But over the 7 years, my eyesight has never been the same. I've got it back, but my eyesight comes and goes. My eye dilates. My depth perception sometimes will be off. I mean, just throughout the day, my eyesight changes constantly. Like right now, I can tell it's wanting to dilate just by how I can see out of my eye. Also, my eye is taken into wanting to cross at times, which I gotta see a doctor about that because I don't want to walk around with a cross-eyed. I don't want to, and that's what it does. Every single night, it'll just cross inward. So that's end of part 4. That's all I'm doing today. I'm losing my voice. I'm tired. You can tell I'm not wearing any makeup, but this is, you know, my butterfly rash from the lupus. So it looks like I got constant blush on. So end of part 4. Part 5, I've got to think of how far I've made it and know where to start, and I will do that later. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.